Hi, this is Heather Hocker, President and CEO of the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, and this is Clef Notes. On today's episode, we're joined by Alejos Anaya for the second series of our conversation around all things Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, Lubbock Youth Orchestra, Moonlight Musicals, and of course, Lubbock High Orchestra. Welcome, Alejos. I'm so glad you're here with me for our second round of conversation.
Thank you, Heather.
All right, Alejos, I want to get into talking about the students currently enrolled at Lubbock High or those that have recently graduated. You know, I look at Sean Kim, who not only did he play violin at Lubbock High in the orchestra, he was a varsity tennis player for all 4 years, juggles academics. How do you even begin to work with students like that?
Sean is a special student and an even better person. When I see him in rehearsal, it's always so great to walk up to him.
He's now up here.
Yes, he's now up here. Him, also, there's a student, Adon Flores, is another one of my former students that plays in Lubbock Symphony. And we touched on this earlier, but you know, you don't really understand the impact that you have as a teacher until you have some years behind you of that. But yeah, like Sean and Adon, as wonderful as both of those guys are, and there's more. There's so many more. And one of the great things about teaching at Lubbock High is that it's just this population of just high achievers. It's a double-edged sword at times because on the one hand, you get these incredibly intelligent, genius level students that are so proactive about doing what they want to do in life that, Mr. Anaya, I can't be here. I've got a tennis match, or I've got, a Model UN, or I've got an IB test, or I've got an AP review. And so it's a double-edged sword, but that's the price you have to pay to work with kids that are so intellectually active and so bright and so willing to make a change in their environment around them that you just have to be willing to work with them. If I had maybe more of a strict attitude with, you've got to do this, you've got to do it this way, I think you kind of turn some kids off. I think a big change for me teaching was when I realized when I first got to Lubbock High, my mindset was more of, I would like to prepare these kids so that where if anybody wants to go into music as a career, that they will have the tools to do so. And that's not a bad goal, but I think I just was not really seeing the whole picture. I think I've since grown, or changed rather, to thinking that really my job is very simple. It's to create a space and environment to which these kids can come through and enjoy as much about orchestra as there is to enjoy for as long as they can in a positive atmosphere. So that way, when they grow up and they have children, that they want their kids to play in orchestra. Not that I don't want to go create. I love Sean Kim, but he's going to go make big changes in the world. Maybe not on the violin, right? And so that's when I realized that I'm not teaching future members of the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. I'm teaching future doctors and lawyers and politicians. And if I can,
you never know, though.
You that's true. You do never know. And as a matter of fact, I've had a few highly successful students come through, not because of me, but come through Lubbock High as well. And it's just such a great school.
You get some credit though too.
You get what you can, and you try to not take any credit, but you have to realize. I think there was a time in my life in college, I think, or maybe directly after. I'm a decent cello player, decent enough to where, you can start dreaming about stuff like maybe I'll go audition in an orchestra and what a career that would be to be a cello player in some great orchestra. And yes, it takes so much hard work and I didn't have what it would have taken. I don't think, but you think about that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, there's no guarantee with those jobs. They're so difficult to get, but even if you get a job like that, let's say if I'm sick for a concert or I can't play in a concert, they'll find somebody else to replace me that's probably just as good or better. And the audience experience really won't be that much different with me not in the cello section. But as a teacher,
have a fan club though at the Lubbock Symphony. And I think it's important, certainly as Lubbock Symphony is celebrating 80 years
I love it.
Of history here on the South Plains, we are developing the next realm of patrons. They may have sat on the stage as a 21-year-old student at Texas Tech, and then 30 years from then sitting in the audience because they have an appreciation. We are developing that next generation, future generations for the Lubbock Symphony when it hits 100 and 110 years old to ensure that we continue a symphony here on the South Plains. I think the arts, especially symphonic music, is vital to the growth of Lubbock. It's a recruitment tool for those doctors and professors and lawyers that are coming to Lubbock that want to make Lubbock their home, as well as growing that next generation of musicians, their kids. I think that's one thing. I've had lots of conversations on my short 5-month span of being the president and CEO of the Lubbock Symphony is what are we doing to make sure those kindergarten, first, second, third graders are in some sort of string program? I mean, we are starting them earlier. You didn't start until 6th grade, but I mean, you've seen those students come through Lubbock High that were in the Suzuki program early and developed a love for it. And we've got to continue to grow a string program in Lubbock. And I think that's a big goal, not necessarily my goal, but it needs to be a goal of the community, both in the schools and just those students and parents that have an interest in it.
Well, and I think the Lubbock Symphony plays a huge role in that. I remember coming to the education concerts when I was younger and getting a chance to come see it. And there's this aura of this is what the fancy people do, at least initially. And what I really enjoy about the Lubbock Symphony, especially the direction that we're going now, is this attitude of inviting all comers, like come in your jeans, come in your t-shirt, come enjoy the music. Almost a little bit like I was talking about, with the students, if you give the audience an experience they're going to want to enjoy or not want to enjoy, they all want to enjoy the experience. But if you give them that experience that I think we've been really delivering on, especially recently, it's hard, it's difficult, but in its essence, I think you give the audience a good experience and they want to come back. And I know there's a lot that goes along with that, and you're tasked with a lot of those things. But one thing I thought we've done a really good job of in the Lubbock Symphony is trying to pick music that the audience can become attracted to, but then also once they're here, give them a little bit of other things too that we can expose them to that'll expand them as well. And I think Maestro is really great for that. He does a good job of meeting the audience where they're at and the community as well. So we're very fortunate to have really great leadership and in the role that we have in the community as well. And I've been able to be a part of the Lubbock Symphony since when I first got to college at Tech. I was in Lubbock Symphony. So that was 1996. So I guess the 5 years that I taught in Austin were the 5 years I took off.
That you were gone.
Yeah. And then I got back as soon as I could. So yeah. And then I don't mean to harp on the Lubbock thing, but I'm modest of talent, in musical talent. But in a place like Lubbock that has everything you could ever need, somebody with my limited skill is able to do so much and conduct such great students at the high school level and conduct such wonderful students with the youth orchestra and then play such wonderful music with such a wonderful group in the Lubbock Symphony and then be in a great ensemble with the civic orchestra as well. And, playing with the ballet on all these different things. Yeah. And if I was in a city like maybe Chicago, I might only have to be able to do one or two of those things at the level in which I'm able to do them here in Lubbock. So I just feel so incredibly blessed to be in this community every day. We all have bad days at work and I don't get too far down that road until I realize, oh my gosh, what am I complaining about? I get to do all of these things.
Well, let's circle back to the spring. And again, David has programmed for next spring. It is a priority that the Lubbock Youth Orchestra does a side-by-side concert with the Lubbock Symphony. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Masterworks 5 for the 26-27 season. Mm-hmm. What was it like to have many of your students on stage? Well, all of them, because they all play in the symphonic orchestra, the Lubbock Youth Orchestra. What was it like that night and that week? I mean, it was a big week of rehearsals.
I remember that week. My shoulders still probably remember some of that
sore?
Week.
Yeah.
It was a lot of music that David chose, a lot of really difficult music, but I think the kids enjoyed that aspect of it. And so just to rewind a little bit for any audience members or listeners that aren't quite familiar, we were able to do a side-by-side concert with the Lubbock Symphony last year. And when I say we, I mean the Lubbock Youth Orchestra, the top group, the top symphony orchestra. We took our kiddos and integrated them with the symphony. And, as you well know, we gave a wonderful concert last year. And yeah, like you asked, it was kind of a surreal experience. You're used to seeing these kids every Sunday and, you direct them. And then, not being the conductor of the side-by-side, obviously, I was just a cello player. So I was sitting next to one of my students, also a Lubbock High student. So I know him very well. And that was really fun. And just getting to interact with them as peers, like, passing bowings back, giving some advice here, this and that. And then the kids were a little bit overwhelmed. They had a little bit kind of like the shock face after the first rehearsal.
Deer in the headlights.
Yes, very, very much so. But by the end of the week, they were all just so excited, and makes it so worth it, to get, and we hadn't done that in many, many years. And I'm looking forward to being able to do it again. The kids love it so much. And then I think the adults too. I think we see, oh, I remember having this experience and feeling these feelings that these kids are having for the first time. When you're sitting in an orchestra and all of a sudden the winds and brass come in behind you at fortissimo volume and they're playing the theme, and you get the body goosebumps. You're like, this doesn't happen very often. So these kids get to have that. And maybe I'm used to it a little bit, but when it happens to them, I think back to my time watching Pines of Rome, Lubbock Symphony. So you sometimes that you're feeling that experience for some other people, and that's a really powerful.
Well, and you're entertaining 2,200 people in Buddy Holly Hall. I mean, you really are putting on a performance. From a patron standpoint, we take it as fabulous opportunity just to go and sit, listen to beautiful music, watch the faces of everyone everyone can find something to entertain them. Not that we have to be entertained, but just the ability to just go in and take an hour and a half and just relax. You don't have to interact with anyone. You can just sit in your seat, listen to beautiful music, moving music. Of course, the opportunity to see students sitting side by side for one concert each season, which is now our goal, and to continue to grow our musicians here in Lubbock.
And thank you for implementing the side-by-side concert. Really so important to have the association and the working partnership that we have with Lubbock Symphony and the youth orchestra is so important. So yeah, that's such a big deal.
What additional goals do you still want to accomplish? What's next?
Well, first, I would love to just keep all of that stuff going. I do think one thing I would like to see come back is when I was in youth orchestra, we were able to do a side-by-side with another youth orchestra, and I think it was Amarillo Youth Orchestra that year, and that was always a good experience. Or that was always something I remember back as being important for us, is to talk to other students my age or our age that were doing the same thing, like somewhere else, and so that was really cool. And I think Janine Holmes even brought in an orchestra from England they were touring America, and they just stopped here for lunch or something, and so we had a rehearsal with them, and that was fun.
Janine did a great job.
Oh yeah. And really, I've already kind of seen movement towards this, and my answer is basically going to see more integration into the community. But as far as goals, I just want to do this as long as I can, and it's always fulfilling. It's rarely not fulfilling, and even those days, it's usually something else, not the music. So the mission that you stated is with the Lubbock Symphony is so close to, I think, my mission as a teacher, whereas, I got these kids with 7 AP classes and then 1 orchestra class. And so you want to be the respite from the busyness. And I think that the Lubbock Symphony is kind of the same way in the community. We have such busy lives, so many things to take care of, so many
options, so many different choices, from athletics to Lubbock Symphony Orchestra.
And to offer the audience just a place, I just want to sit down and listen to some great music. You have an hour, 45 minutes of relaxation. At halftime, you can go get yourself a little glass of wine and come back in.
Intermission, come on.
Yes, this is the sports. This is Texas. And I think Lubbock Symphony provides that opportunity for just a moment to sit and be with your community and to reflect. Yeah.
Alejos, this has been great fun. You and I probably could talk for 3 more hours.
Oh, I'm sure. Are we done already? I feel like we just started.
We are. I'm getting the whistle that it's time to wrap it up. So, Alejos, thank you for joining me again today, and congratulations on a great Lubbock Youth Orchestra season upcoming.
Thank you.
I think we will have record enrollment. If you have a student that's interested in the Lubbock Youth Orchestra, please visit the Lubbock Youth Orchestra website, or you can also contact the Lubbock Symphony office at 806-762-1688 for more information. You can find the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra on social media, and to purchase tickets, visit our website at lubbocksymphony.org, and be sure to download Classical 105.7 app so you never miss an episode of Clef Notes. Make it a great day.